Yo, 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 everybody, Sunchipp Games here. I'm not really going to be doing any gaming videos for a while, since I am currently in process of packing for West Virginia. However, I thought I'd actually do a quick video on something, and that is soundtracks to video games. So, with that said, let's get this started. I want to make a quick note before I do anything. Don't mind the quality of the pictures that you will be seeing, especially the pictures of my screen, because I am using a shitty ass laptop that doesn't even know how to take screenshots properly. So I'm going to be taking the pictures through my phone. So, again, apologies for that. I don't have proper technology like I used to. So stick with me. Now, when it comes to soundtracks, you guys might be thinking, oh, Mario, Legend of Zelda, stuff like that. I mean, hell, they're good pieces of art. I mean, I do gotta say, even for Super Mario Galaxy, when they actually got an actual orchestra to perform the songs, which was actually difficult because of the different speeds for different tracks. But let's just say, these songs, I mean, hell, anybody could play these. Even on a bottle, somebody could play the Mario song with a couple beer bottles, just with a remote control car. I don't know if anybody of you've seen that, but look what these people can do. Even the low-budget indie games, not actual games like Nintendo makes or something like that, but games like Scott Cawthon and stuff like that, internet games, they even have good soundtracks too. However, there's one game genre I really want to I just want to talk about. I need to get this off my chest. I mean, let's face the facts. Okay, Mario, let's say for example, you got a good track right here, which can be an earworm. Yes, it can be a good earworm, but let's face the facts. You're listening to this on like a 1-minute song on a repeated loop. Unless if you want to talk about that Mario ripoff that decided to have the theme song play for only a split second, and then the soundtrack just turns into something that you don't really expect to hear in a Mario game. So while I am in the process of making myself a chocolate peanut butter sandwich, let me go and tell you the actual topic I want to get to. Because of me playing a bunch of games and stuff like that, I want to announce that there are some underrated games that really don't get as much attention as actual popular games made by Nintendo and these internet guys. And let me tell you something, I so happen to have an interest in a lot of underrated games. To list a few: Roller Coaster Tycoon, Drome Racers, Battle for Bikini Bottom, yes, I played that, and much more. Now, there's something I really want to actually ask here, and this is compared to popular video games. Why is it that the underrated games have better soundtrack than actual popular games themselves? Well, I kind of answered that in the beginning. That was because of the loop. The couple, who knows, like how many times somebody can loop it? 20, 30? Hell, there's even hour-long versions of the Power Star theme. I'm surprised people don't get tired of listening to the same song over and over again for about an hour. But hey, if it's catchy, that's my surprise. Now, this is my actual conclusion, and I will list some of the songs and talk about the songs in some underrated games. Not all, though. If there's an underrated game I missed, don't come complaining to me about it. But it's just listing a few examples, and as of now, I really don't feel like listening to people complaining because I missed something. I know people complain about a lot of stuff on my YouTube page, but I don't want to see it much on my gaming page as well. Underrated music, Part 1. The popularity of actual tracks in the games themselves. What's so special about this? Let's take a peek at Roller Coaster Tycoon for an example. You've got the merry-go-round tracks, the Calliope tracks, let's just say. All of those tracks are actual popular songs. Why did they do that? Well, first of all, they're popular songs, and they want to raise popularity. Yes, it might cost them a lot of money, but they want to try to do their best to become big. This isn't the only game that has managed to do that. Although, when it comes to some popular songs, they'd keep them, but they'd only last for like a few minutes or seconds, I should say. Or they'd actually make cheap rip-offs of the songs that sound similar. Take a peek at Drome Racers. Red Creek Cavern. If you listen to the soundtrack closely, you could actually tell it's somewhat of a rip-off from Modern English's I Melt With You. As a matter of fact, on my music page, I made a mashup of the actual song itself and the Drome Racers track.
I'll stop the world and melt with you. You've seen the difference and it's getting better all the time. There's nothing you and I won't do. I'll stop the world and melt with you. Moving forward, using all my breath.
Then you got Battle for Bikini Bottom's Goo Lagoon and Mermalair tracks. If those tunes don't sound familiar, check out the Safari's Wipeout, and check out the 60s Batman theme. So popularity is actually a big thing when it comes to this. Because of that, that's one way of boosting. That's one way of trying to make themselves big. But a lot of people just don't want to see that. Now, but hold on, Sunchipp, you may be saying. Rayman Rabbids for the Wii has an actual song in it. Well, that's Ubisoft. They do that. Because they already are popular enough to afford songs that they can actually use. And here's the track that they actually use too. I would also want to make a quick note that Ubisoft also decided to make their own version after a little while. So let's just let's just say they probably actually did get in a little bit of trouble when they used that song, so therefore they actually had to make their own. Part 2. Merchandise. Now let's just say there's a company out there that wants to advertise, either a company or a studio. Well, let's just say those are kind of underrated games, I guess, in a way. Well, now at least, because now it's just increasing popularity for some reason. It used to never be like that. Take Drone Racers for an example. Look what it's advertising. It's advertising a kid's product. Now, don't get me wrong. They actually did make a few sets here and there, and I actually have only one. Only one, and it turned out to be my favorite vehicle to drive in, and the same color that I always drive it in. But then next thing you know, you have, back in 1998, I believe, Stunt Track Driver. It's advertising little Hot Wheel cars. Which also managed to have a little sequel. Now, for some reason, those gained popularity, but take a peek at the soundtrack. those games started when they wanted to try to boost themselves up, and they kind of succeeded in somewhat of a way. But that was because they made another game that actually advertised a movie series, the Acceleracers. I really wasn't much of a fan of that game because Stunt Track Driver was the best of all. You can customize your own tracks even too, but you actually get the feel of the actual little miniature vehicle itself. Which actually kind of brought a future sight to the video racer that I used to have, but managed to get busted in some sort of way. I don't know how, I don't know why. Then you also have Nickelodeon, who tried to advertise SpongeBob. That somewhat went alright, but those are still considered underrated games. Because you don't really have much people playing them, except for little kids or people who want to go back to the past and play what they used to play when they were a kid. You gotta look at what they're trying to do here. They advertise for these companies and studios. They want to try to make themselves bigger by advertising for these people. And they can't really do that if it's something that they just want to think of. Nintendo is its own company, it's its own studio too. If you want to try to have two companies combined together, that's really making an effort right there. Nintendo, I mean, yeah, they have good games, but they don't really try. They do what they want to do. But take a look at these other companies. They're collabing with other companies at the same time, thus creating or trying to create better games for the world. Let's just say. But people aren't seeing their hard work that they're trying to go through. But wait a second, Sunchipp, again, you're just mentioning the companies. What about the soundtracks themselves? Well, I already went through previous soundtracks already, Drone Racers being the one. And actually, there is a game for the Nintendo 64 that actually had its license done by Nintendo. It was a fun game and all, but I still preferred the sequel more than the original, because the sequel had more of a storyline to it. Because, again, if it's licensed by Nintendo, there's really no storyline. It's like Super Mario Bros. The entire story throughout every single Mario game is Bowser kidnaps the princess. So, therefore, the first game of that series wasn't much of a thing, but the second one had more story to it, and that's why I prefer the second one over the first. And because the second one had more of a story, it also had realistic characteristics in it. But no, rocket ships can't fly like that. I'm saying parts can actually fall apart. And you can put them back together using what? Well, you can just put them back together. I kind of just realized that I didn't mention anything about the soundtracks in anything that I just said. But because of these guys being small, they probably just want to try to make soundtracks so they can have an uplifting plot here. With better soundtrack, it gets people more into what's happening here. Especially me, because I'm a soundtrack person, which is proven on my right arm. But, hey, soundtrack equals better environment or better gameplay for anything, really. Now, honestly, I did not want to work on this video because I so happen to talk too much, which goes to prove the actual video's length. In this case, it seems like I was just talking about a bunch of gibberish that, well, most of you might actually be thinking right now. Let's just prove something here. Here's a way on how to tell if this is an underrated game or not. One way is to look at the views on YouTube. You got a lot more views on YouTube. Take a peek at the star theme again versus this piece of track right here. Look at the views. There are more views on the star than there is on the final boss of this song. Another thing is, take a peek at the studios that actually work on it. A lot of the studios actually got shut down because they weren't making good enough games. I'm not so sure about Heavy Iron, but the ones who actually created the sequel to these racing ones, they got shut down because they weren't making good enough games. I thought they were pretty good games. I don't know why they didn't see that. And if you want to take a peek at the soundtrack, go ahead and search them up. There's more likes on the actual Nintendo games versus the underrated games themselves. And they are like actual tracks that you'd want to go and see to perform live in orchestra, or some that you actually just want to replace on an actual popular game just to make it more interesting. That's something I would do now that I know how to rip a bunch of files through a bunch of games. But seriously, take a look at these games here, at these tracks here, and see what I mean. Underrated games have better soundtrack than actual popular games. And it gets you in the mood for just to be around anything. One game I got into, Distance. Their tracks are amazing. Even though that they're looped, their tracks are amazing. Especially the Monolith. And Distance is an indie game, but it's somewhat underrated at the same time. That's why I kind of bring it up. And I remember playing this game before. That's how I proposed to Connie. It's still a good part of my life. But hey, hope you guys enjoyed.